stampedes rolling.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Rock and Horror Podcast Show. I am Rob, your host here in Hopatcong, New Jersey, coming at you live from Studio 217. And tonight I am joined by the lovely Miss Gina, as well as a bunch of the cult. Anthony Masi, who was on our show last episode, Brett Bishop, who is a big giant square, and I can't see him.
I know, I'm trying to fix it.
He is involved with television and film. He is a filmmaker himself. We also have Makayla, who has been on our show before, dear listeners. And tonight we are here to talk about Halloween Kills, because you know what? There's been a lot of strong opinions, either side, good, bad, indifferent. People's attitudes have changed as they've watched the film multiple times. So I'm going to break right in real quick and give you a quick synopsis of the film. When we last left our intrepid mask-wearing serial killer, he was locked in a cage in the basement of Laurie Strode's house and left to burn. As we all know, nothing with Michael ever lasts like that. So he found his way out. He was very angry, proceeded to kill a bunch of firefighters, and then went to try to go home. And in his home now live Big John and Little John, the resident gay couple who have put so many accoutrements in the wonderful house of Michael Myers that I think he was pissed off about that too. We form an angry mob a la Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, but much, much better, driving the pickup truck and all that good stuff. And it sets up this wonderful climactic mob scene where they go after the wrong person, shocker, who jumps to his death. And then we have Anthony Michael Hall playing Tommy Doyle. We have all these people from the Haddonfield mob trying to kill Michael one last time. As we all know, they sadly fail. And Michael ends up going back to Judith's room and killing Laurie's daughter. And we roll the credits. And that is the worst synopsis I've ever given of any movie anywhere. But meanwhile, in the Hall of Justice, but yeah, there are so many different opinions about this film. I'm so happy that Anthony is here with us tonight. Anthony has been involved with the Halloween saga for many years. He started a website years ago called the Myers Museum, which I was glad to take some little tiny part in writing a book for. And then he was asked to be the webmaster of HalloweenMovies.com when the other two webmasters left. I don't know why they left, but whatever. And he was involved in multiple event planning things with his company, MasiMedia. He did the Halloween 25 Years of Terror documentary, which a lot of fans know and love. It's one of the definitive, if not the definitive, documentary on the man we all know and love as Michael Myers. So I'm going to let Tony jump right in and give, yeah, because Tony's got a magic show to go do. Because Tony's also.
Yes, I'm going to the Magic Castle tonight, and so thank you for moving it up a little bit for me to join, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to. Yeah, well, thank you. Well, I love you, Rob. You're like a brother. I loved Halloween Kills, and I know a lot of people didn't. And here's the thing: is I went in with low expectations. I really was not a big fan of the 2018 movie. I felt like there was a lot lacking. I don't think Laurie's connection to Michael was very clear at all in that movie. I mean, I love that they retconned the brother-sister thing. I thought that was a good move, but I think it got really confusing when like she spent 40 years saying he's coming to get her when like clearly he, at least to me, it doesn't look like he has any interest in her. So for me, it was very confusing, but I think here's my synopsis. I think the 2018 movie was Laurie's movie. This movie, Halloween Kills, was Michael's movie. And I want to read you the ending verse that Laurie says. And I think this summed up, this is why I love the ending of this movie. She said, "I always thought Michael Myers was flesh and blood like you and me, but a mortal man could not have survived what he has lived through. The more he kills, the more he transcends into something else impossible to defeat. Fear. People are afraid. That is the true curse of Michael. You can't defeat it with brute force. It is the essence of evil, the anger that divides us. It is the terror that grows stronger when we try to hide. You can't close your eyes and pretend he isn't there, because he is. And I think if you're going to explain the boogeyman, that's how you do it. You don't do like runes and like Halloween 6, you know, like when the stars align here. You know, this is explaining the boogeyman without explaining the boogeyman. You know, it's like all this is doing is what Loomis did in the first movie, which was to say this isn't a man and evil has come to your town. It's not explained, but it's explained just enough to know it's pretty bad. And I think in this movie, they showed the town what they were up against. They were up against an unstoppable evil force that nobody can explain, but they figured out he's unstoppable. And so for that reason, I loved it. I thought Michael looked great. You know, the mob scenes were a little like all over the place and didn't seem to gel with the rest of the movie, but I do know a lot of people that love the mob scenes. But I thought it was a great film. I've seen it a whole bunch of times, but I really feel like they focused on the boogeyman and what it means. And I think he's evolved and he's become so vicious and powerful that the town has realized, you know, this is the worst thing to ever happen. And I think I figured out actually more of Laurie's kind of trajectory. I think it's more clear here that she thinks he was coming for her, but I mean, what is it? Hawkins says, if I'm not mistaken, he's like, he's not coming for you. Like, doesn't he say that? He says
something to that effect, yes. And
yeah, like Laurie, like he's not, you know, and I think just the fear that he is now spreading, and the more scared the town gets, the more powerful he gets. In the original Halloween, and I'll leave it here and I'll let you guys talk, is, you know, the teacher is saying no matter what course of action, was it Collins took, whatever, he was destined to his own fate. And I think that's kind of the point of Laurie's character in all of this. And I didn't see it in 2018, but she crossed Michael. You know, he latched onto her when she dropped the keys off, and you kind of feel like no matter what she does, she's screwed. Like if you live in Haddonfield and Michael is there, you can't close your eyes and pretend he isn't there, because he is. So I think they've really sharpened what it means to be the boogeyman in the Halloween movies. That's my general takeaway.
And I agree wholeheartely with this not being Laurie's movie. I mean, for God's sake, we don't see her for 20 minutes. And literally it's in the 19th to 20th minute before we're back in the truck seeing Laurie, you know, carted off to the hospital. I would even gamble to say that it's really not even our movie collectively as like the fans here, because I think in 2018 they needed to do two things. They needed to introduce Michael Myers to a new audience of people, sort of like they did with us in 1978, and then again in 1988 when Halloween 4 came out. So there are certain things I know that hardcore fans have sat here and been like, I really didn't like that, or I really didn't like this, or whatever. And I would challenge them and say, I don't think this movie was necessarily meant for us as a whole, even with all of the as Mike Grimm would say, the overkill of nostalgia. I mean, it really did bleed. It bled like ridiculous. I did like the nostalgic parts of it. I love seeing Charles Cyphers again. I mean, the man is pushing, I think, almost 90 years old in real life. So
I mean, when I met him way back when to do the Halloween convention, he was old.
Right, right.
It was like a long time ago.
Like
and
he's been
like old, like, and that's fine. I'm not coming down on it.
Sure.
Like, but you know, they didn't have much to do, but it was nice to see everybody, you know, and to see Marion come back, and like, she only comes back to die in these movies, but you know, they didn't give them much to do, but it didn't bother me. It was just fun. I loved the flashback scenes.
Yes.
And I thought that first scene where he attacks the cop by the window, that really did look like, you know, an outtake from Halloween to me. I just was like, oh my God, Michael looks exactly the same.
Does he pick it up from a new store like every time? Because, you know, that's we always see how he gets his mask almost. But yeah, it's been, that was a very, I think it was well done. I think the 12-piece prosthetic that was done on the actor that played the late Donald Pleasance, I thought that was amazing. The voice was a little bit, Yeah, too much. I mean, I keep hearing that. Has Michael killed again? I mean, that was just a little bit,
much.
you know, and we went from I shot him 6 times to I shot him. Well, he says he's shot him multiple times.
Yeah.
So we actually watched part of Halloween 2 last night because there were little bits and pieces that were sort of throwbacks to Halloween 2, even though Halloween 2 was really retconned out. You know, where and Loomis, when he says I shot him 6 times, he says it what 5 times?
At least 5. We can
Right, and then he gets in the sheriff's deputy's car and he's saying the same thing over and over again. He's not human. I shot him 6 times. It's over and over and over. And Mike Grimm loves that line. So Mike, I'm gonna let you talk because I know that you have a shit ton of strong opinions. So be nice and I'm gonna ask you to unmute.
So Michael's watching.
Michael's watching you.
So I'll say this. It is 100% a Michael Myers movie. The movie is fun, it's watchable, it's rewatchable, but it's not a Halloween movie. Thank you. It's not a Halloween movie to me. It's a Michael Myers movie, and the best way that I can draw a comparison is it is the later versions of Friday the 13th. The movie became less about the story or any kind of characters, and it became more about the killer. And that's how I felt about this movie. Everybody seems so disposable. I know how Anthony said that he liked to see the the old cast, Lindsay come back and Marion come back and so on. But I feel it was overkill of nostalgia, like Rob said. Those characters could have been played by anybody in the bar because they didn't do anything significant. They just showed up and died. And unfortunately, nearly every character except Tommy Doyle just showed up to be killed. And that sucked because I think something that is so great in the original Halloween is that it's not a Michael Myers movie. It's about Laurie. It's about character development. You see these girls, and that's what I attach to. I think the gay couple was absolutely amazing. They're the best characters in the whole movie. I would have loved to see them from the beginning go through. But so many people, like the firefighter scene, just didn't do it for me. Although it was cool, it was really, really cool to see. It was too brutal, too visceral, too violent, too hand-to-hand combat for Michael Myers.
Sure.
For me.
He was, I don't mean to interrupt, but I feel like he was involved, Michael. If we're talking like Jason X, where like he's like this, super Jason in space and everything. I think the whole, like, for instance, one of my issues of the original movie was the ending of the 2018 movie was the ending. Like, I have a house, but I don't know where to buy a movable island with matching shooting spikes. And it just seemed like such a 40-year plan that seems so melodramatic. And, and she was able to, again, I have a house. How do you put gas pipes that are exposed? You could never do that. You can, and she burns her house down and doesn't have a house. So it just feels like a melodramatic, overly planned, overdramatic, poorly planned 40-year plan to get rid of Michael. And so the beginning of this movie, I think he comes out of the gate like slashing his way. And I see what you mean. Like, how do you take out, how many firefighters was it? 10, something like that? Like
I think you see him dispose of like 5. But then the body
I think it's
counter.
11.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
It feels like, I think that's the point. It's kind of like they don't say supernatural. They don't say he's getting stronger. They don't say superhero or villain or super villain, but clearly that's where they're going with him. They're making him stronger. And like he lifts that firefighter straight in the air, and like, how does no one? And so when Laurie is saying, no mortal man could have survived what he has lived through, I think that's kind of the point. Is he's not the Michael from 40 years ago. He's bigger and more powerful. And like, when I gotta say, like, did you guys like the shot where he comes walking out of the house with the fire and then in Carpenter's music? I was like, oh my God, like right
I
out the
love
gate, I
that.
was scared.
Gina hated
I
it.
was scared.
I
It was
thought it was so lame. I
No.
was like, okay, so he went through all of this in 2018 and all right, I'm done. Here I come. Yeah, I know.
Well, you know what? You get locked in a cage and, you know, set on fire. And here's the amazing thing for me. So we've all sat through every single Halloween movie that's out there. And at the end of almost every single Halloween, there's like, oh my God, he fell down the big pit and we go home and we're like, well, how the hell is he going to get out of that? So, and then we sit there and we think about it for a year or 2 years or 10 years. And then when we see the solution, we're like, fuck, that was really easy. I mean, when that
too easy.
when that door opened up in the basement, I was like, are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? That little, I don't even know what it was. And I was like, oh my
I think
God,
that was
her
the
house.
cabinet to the gun. That was the gun cabinet.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
And it's like, I sit there and go, oh my God, I could have written that in 5 seconds. And yet I spent the whole year thinking, how are they going to do this?
Yeah.
And I do think that that's one of the brilliant things. I mean, I remember going from part 4 into part 5, and I know they're all retconned now, but I remember going in from part 4 to part 5 and having him fall down the mine shaft. And like, nobody thought that like there was a exit to the mine shaft on the other end, you know. He didn't fall into the gates of hell, but those screenwriters wrote that, you know, Jamie was going to be the new killer. And I know damn well that, you know, Mustafa was never going to allow that. So we all knew that that was not going to happen, but that's what the screenwriters wrote. And then it gives them another year or 2 years or whatever to figure out how they're going to bring Michael back. And that's exactly what they do. I agree with Michael on the or Mike. I agree with Mike on the brutality of the kills. I know Brett actually wrote a very, very good post about that on Facebook, where, you know, the kills are super brutal. This is what the 2021 audience, and probably for the past 10 years of horror, that's kind of what they almost demand. And it doesn't work in every single series because, you know, Jason Voorhees, if you watch him do that, he's the same exact way pretty much in every single movie. You know, maybe not, you know, 3 and 2, but I mean, even in those cases, the kills are always brutal, but we've gotten more into almost a torture porn type of setup with horror. So I mean, I do agree the kills are super brutal. They're kind of outside of Michael's realm. And I did want Brett to say something about that because I know he was very, very moved is the wrong word because moved is a good connotation, but he was sort of disturbed by the kill of the Elrods, the stand-in Elrods. That's what I call them.
I think that even though audiences nowadays are expecting that type of brutality and that level of gore, I still think that with a series that didn't start necessarily like that, or, you know, is slowly trying to get into it. I think 2018 was a good example of Halloween 2018 was a good example of really pushing it. I think it went a little too far as well, but not as much as this one. But the best series, as far as an example of upping the gore but without overstepping, is the Scream series, because they, you know, it was still really graphic and whatnot in the first film, but when you get to 4, it's a lot more graphic, but it's not so removed that you don't feel like this is a Scream movie anymore, if that makes any sense. I did want to touch back on something really fast, what Anthony was saying, with how with every kill he transcends. And I think that's with your background right there, showing that back in, you know, when Michael was taken initially in 1978, those few officers were able to take him down because he hadn't killed as much as he has now. And that's why he was able to take down a whole town and all of those firefighters, because he has killed so much more at that point. But I don't know if that was just an obvious point, but I thought maybe I'd make it. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, when he, you know, I thought the movie was going to end with him all beaten on the ground, and, you know, that you would expect that. And I think when it's all what Laurie is saying, and I don't know how she's figured this out from her hospital bed, you know, but
it was in the script. That's how.
Yeah, and I know they reshot the ending. I know that, but when he just gets up and starts slashing, it's like, could you imagine if that really happened? You would realize what you were dealing with. I really think they created a boogeyman. You know, they created a very powerful, they created exactly, I think, what Carpenter kind of set out to create, which was this unstoppable force. And yet nobody knows what it is, why it's happening. So for those reasons, I think it was effective. Yes. Do I think it's very brutal? Yes. Like, would Michael, does it feel a little like not like a Halloween movie? I could see that, you know, but I think I welcomed it. I mean, if they're going to create this horrible boogeyman, he would be smashing light bulbs and sticking them through your neck. And like, you know, somebody else, a couple things. One thing with the light bulb, that scene, somebody said, why is he in the bathroom? Like, what's he doing there? And
bandaging his hand.
Yes, so I heard about it. I was like, that's really cool. Like, what's he doing? Like, he stopped in the Elrod house to get the knife, and now he's bandaging his hand. I thought that was cool. And did you guys see the station wagon? His station wagon during the scene with my friend Matt was watching it, and he's like, "There's the station wagon." So when Lonnie confronts Michael, you know, the station wagon's right there. So just letting y'all know, if you haven't seen it, go look for the station wagon.
I'll have to watch that again. And the screenshot that I sent you, Tony, and you guys in the cult, the attention to detail was very important to me as a writer. I love that. Just having the window shattered in the same exact spot, you know, all of these years later, something little and stupid like that. But I remember watching that, and I said to Gina, I was like, oh my God, hold on a second. She's like, what? And like, it took me 20 minutes to go and find the old Halloween and go back to the scene where Loomis, because as soon as I saw that broken window, I went back to 1978 and was listening to Loomis in my head, even though he wasn't there. And for those two things to have happened, so the sheriff's deputies are in that room probably what, 2-3 hours after the 1978 scene, and that was just the way that it was supposed to be. And I was like, that is such a stupid detail that maybe not anybody would see, and yet they fix that. Why they still can't fix movies not having palm trees in them when they're supposed to be in, you know, in the East Coast or the West Coast, who the hell knows? We go palm tree picking all the time. We watched Criminal Minds the other night, and it was in Chicago, and it was the largest palm tree I've ever seen in my life. It was horrendous. I don't know, you know, Tony and Brett, you all know editors. I mean, oh my God. And Makayla and Ashley, you are filmmakers. I know that you guys have attention to detail for things like that. But oh my God, you need to talk to your editors out in California and tell them stop with the damn palm trees.
Well, what was worse is that it was strictly a shot for the scenery. Like Correct. There was no point to even having the shot. So They took a shot of the palm tree, and it blew my mind.
And it's something that we see now. It was a lot of fun, but the attention to detail in this movie is absolutely phenomenal, in my opinion. Everything top to bottom, detail wise, was perfect.
So just going back to the brutality of the kills, because I think this is interesting. So I always preface whenever we're talking about these kinds of things, I always say, so I'm not a horror fan, right? So sometimes I kind of approach discussions like this as, well, I don't know what I'm talking about. I've seen all of the Halloween movies. I actually loved 2018. I loved that movie. And I was surprised that I loved it. I didn't want to go see it in the theaters because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be scared. It's going to be creepy. Wasn't scared, but it was still exciting. It like got the blood flowing, whatever. So this year we watched it. Now we did watch it at home. And I do think that actually affects how you see a movie for the first time, especially a movie like that. So we're at home, we're eating, we made cocktails that were probably too strong than they should have been. You know, the phone is on the coffee table, so I'm probably not as focused. And we keep talking about how it's like, you know, it's dialed up because it can't just be the horror or the kills of 78 is that of 78. What I loved about the original movie is that all of the scariness comes from restraint. Right? It comes from the quiet restraint of who this person is. They dial it up to try to kind of almost compete with what people expect of 2021. But that said, I don't think the kills were that brutal. And I say this.
He used a hacksaw.
But I say this as you can see the same stuff on TV shows now.
Yeah, that's true.
So it didn't feel special. It didn't feel over the top. It didn't feel anything other than just out of place for, I guess, the Halloween Michael Myers continuation story that I was looking for. I went into it with very high expectations. So Tony, I think I had the opposite of what I think it was Anthony who had said you went in with lower expectations. I went in with high expectations and I came out kind of just like, it's fun, but I don't know. And I always say then, well, maybe I just don't get it because I'm not a horror fan. But I do think that the kills really weren't that brutal. And the firefighters, like, it was like they waited in line. Like everyone was like, oh, let's take turns and try to give him a shot. Like it was so strange to me.
I will say some of the innovation of the kills. So the firefighter scene was just incredibly brutal.
I like the vantage point though through the whatever a firefighter wears.
Right.
I did like that. I thought that was interesting.
Like they sprayed him down with a Halloween hose. They sprayed him down with a Halloween hose. What the hell is that? They sprayed him down with the firefighter hose and he didn't move. I mean, those things can almost move cars. So we know that, he's a beast.
It shows the strength. Yeah.
But some of the kills, I mean, one of the most innovative kills I've ever seen in my life was the kill with the door where she was hot nurse number 1 or whatever in the credits in the first one. I forget what her name is now, even in this movie. But when he hits the door and the gun turns around and just blows her head off, I'm like, oh my God, that's incredible.
That was interesting.
And I also think this is the first time I've ever seen someone stabbed in the armpit. So that was pretty cool. So the innovation of the kills, I still think there was a lot of brutality. Michael sitting there, and I still say he was picking out a knife. And when he was stabbing the guy on the table, he was 100% picking out a good knife. That's what he was doing.
Right. Well, I think something. No, sorry. I think, sorry, Rob, that one of the things that you were trying to point out with what I wrote on my post wasn't that necessarily it's so brutal, but what it does is I think it lingers so long on those that are suffering that's where it becomes uncomfortable, at least for me, and that's just my opinion. For like the older black lady who was sitting there watching, your favorite thing was picking out the knife, but to show her on her and show her last breaths coming out as it pans around, like I felt like that's unnecessary. I just think that's mean. It's not fun for me to watch. Or even the boyfriend, I forget his name, when he's sitting there and the saliva is just slowly, coming out because clearly he's paralyzed from Michael, breaking his neck or back or whatever it was, and then for him just to, whatever. I think that's what I'm talking about. It's going to an extra step or level that just I don't have a great time. I don't care. If the kills are fun, then great. I'm not against gore or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I think it's just the suffering aspect of it. I think, okay, now it's coming down to reality a little too much for me. Like I like to see kills, but I don't want to think about, oh wow, they're probably in a lot of pain, and now I'm starting to identify with them, and that's not. Yeah.
And I think
that's just my opinion.
I think too, like Rob also did make a good point since the summer, because we had a really bad summer. So he had never seen any of the Criminal Minds, and so we've just been watching, and we're just like been blowing through and watching nothing but that. And when you watch things like Handmaid's Tale and things like that, like I think I've become a little bit immune, because actually what you're saying as being so much suffering in the things that we've seen recently on TV, it's not in comparison. And so I think I've kind of built up this weird, I don't know what that says about me, but this weird, like, I'm
You're
like, that's not so bad.
I think horror fans in a way get numb to what they see on the screen, because we know it's not real. So there's a bit of a numbness factor. I mean, I remember the first time that I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it was so, that was disturbing. And I think that's the word that I'm looking for, is disturbing. I actually loved Cameron's kill. I hated Cameron, the character. I thought he was a douchebag in the first movie. I was very happy to see him killed, but obviously I wouldn't want that to happen to him in real life. But I love that Michael took his time, breaking his neck against the bench.
I got to say, what a great scene. I mean, the staircase kill was like, it was fun to watch. Like I wasn't a Cameron fan either, and I don't think you were really supposed to really like him. I mean,
right.
But
Even his voice annoyed me, and Brett's like, I'm never talking to either one of you again. You can both go to hell.
We're horrible people.
No. You're saying the right stuff. I don't think you're disagreeing with me. I'm thinking that once we have to have the camera lingering on people's faces
Sure.
as they're like, that's
Well,
like,
I think what you're
that staircase scene was amazing. Don't get me wrong on that. Yeah.
Brett, I think what you're saying, Brett, is that it's a little mean-spirited, a little too mean-spirited to linger on somebody
just a little bit.
suffering. Yeah, I mean, that camera, that shot of that woman sitting there, just kind of laying there watching him stabbing this person, so you're supposed to be uncomfortable and, and I wonder what thematically the director was bringing to the movie. Was it to say her fear is fueling him? Like, I think that was the point of the movie for me, was like, the more the town panics, the more they are afraid, the worse it gets,
Well,
and I think maybe that's what they were doing, but I agree with you. It's hard to
That
watch.
actually
Well,
makes sense.
And the thing about too is, I might, sorry if I'm talking over somebody. The thing I might be looking at from an editor standpoint, to be honest with you, if I really start thinking about it, because again, they could have still had her looking as Michael did the knives. I just think starting on her
Yeah.
and lingering for so long and then panning, I'm kind of like, you're so uncomfortable, at least some of us are, that I feel like you're losing us in watching it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're losing us as audience members in a way. So I get why they did it, but at the same time, it's like, you could still show her watching him being stabbed over and over again, or even Cameron in the staircase and everything. Again, I just think it's the lingering moments that just kind of just a little too much for me. But anyway.
So speaking of losing the audience, and Mike, you had referenced the gay couple, and I don't remember their names. And I don't know
Big John and Little John.
I don't know if anyone else. So we're watching it, and we've seen them now on the screen for a little bit, and all of a sudden it clicked what I had seen, one of the actors, who he was. And once I had seen that, and unfortunately when you have iconic characters, once I saw that, it was kind of done for me.
Was that Mad TV? It was Mad TV, right?
It was Stewart.
It was
And I was like,
from
oh my
Mad
God,
TV.
it's Stewart.
Now, Stuart, get out of that house, Stuart. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I had an issue with that as well. I totally get it. I was like, oh my God, it's
hard.
Stewart. And then but
it's like Jerry Seinfeld is never he can never do anything and be not Jerry Seinfeld. And once I placed, what's that?
It's hard to take it seriously.
Yeah. And at that point, then, the full drink is in me. Stewart's on the TV. I don't know what's going on. It actually became kind of funny.
Can I come over and watch horror movies with you guys? Because like this might be great.
You should do watch-alongs and post them.
We are going to be having a segment on the show going forward, and it's going to be called Judging with Gina. And I mean, she's really going to be tearing apart pretty much everything I love, which is fine. I mean, I do love that. I mean, unfortunately, all of my friends like this shit. So it's kind of tough, except for Halloween 6 and Mike, who wants to murder me every time I say that I like the producer's cut. But anyway. But yeah, so
I want to go off what Gina said about Michael McDonald. So how you can lose people because so many of us see Michael McDonald and boom, it clicks. It's Stewart. We don't see Michael McDonald. We see Stewart. However, going back to this is Halloween for the modern age, for the next generation, there are probably so many people that went to that theater that are under 20 years old that have no idea who Stewart is or or anything like that. Like, they don't understand the Mad TV references because Mad TV is not as relevant as it was back.
And that's why I asked the question, because we have some people here that are younger that I don't know if they knew. I mean, gosh, all of you are younger than us.
They shake their heads. They're shaking their heads, people.
So Makayla and
Ashley,
like, you guys probably don't know. So for you, it's a non-issue. It's a complete non-issue.
So I want to share an image before Tony leaves us, and because I know he's got to go, but I want to show you this image.
He has to literally go make magic.
He has to, he literally has to go make magic.
I do.
And it's for people that say they cannot stand this movie. And I thought this was a brilliant. I'll make it bigger. And I mean, this here is literally, where the hell did it go? There it is.
I like the white horse, by the way.
I mean, this is what we've put up with throughout the entire saga. And, we sit there and we're like, this is the worst Halloween ever. Some of them. We have white horses.
It was definitely not the worst.
You have,
No,
trick or treat,
definitely not the worst.
motherfucker. You have the Man in Black. You have what Halloween is that from with white-haired Michael? Someone jog my memory.
No,
Which
That was
one?
Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, right?
No, it was
Remember that
Halloween.
trailer?
It was Halloween 4
Oh.
when they were inside the school.
That's
after-
right.
And they accidentally used the wrong mask or whatever it was, so they didn't have
Right.
the right one.
They,
So-
from what I know, from what I've heard, they actually made the entire movie with that pink and white mask. They had gotten shipments of them, and then when they watched it back, they were like, "Oh, this is fucking terrible. We got to reshoot this whole fucking thing." And they missed that one scene where Michael attacks Loomis. Supposedly,
Huh.
it was shot with a pink and white mask through the whole movie.
And I love that we have Bucky because we haven't seen Bucky in a lot of years. Bucky was the guy that died in Halloween 4 in the or was it Halloween 5? No, Halloween 4 in the Transformers.
Yeah. it's
And
fun.
we have the dumbass Keystone Cops. And then we have Tina. We have Tina. But yeah, I mean, we've put up with a lot of crap, so to speak, over the years from these movies. And again, it goes back to my point that, there's a big part of me that thinks that this wasn't even 2018. These are not our movies, so to speak. It's to bring a new fan base in, again, upping the, I'm going to call it torture porn, upping that aspect of it. I think Rob Zombie started that with his remake or reboot, cool, or whatever you want to call it. And people know that I have some very, very strong feelings about Rob Zombie's Halloween 1. I know Anthony loved Halloween 2 by Zombie.
Hell yeah.
What's
Hell
that?
yeah. I
Yeah.
think Halloween 2 is great.
Halloween 2, I think, is better than his original Halloween. But I still lose something in there. I think for me, part of it is Danielle Harris's character. That kind of, going back to the store thing, it takes me out. That's Jamie Lloyd to me, and she'll never be Annie Brackett. So it's like it's one of those just weird things. So, but yeah, Tony, I don't want to keep you any longer because it is 7:45 our time. Tony, so thank you so much for being here again.
Yeah, it was great. It was nice meeting you and hearing your
Thanks, Tony.
comments. I mean, I didn't hear everybody's comments, but I will be watching the podcast so that I can see everyone else. I'm really interested in what you have to say because, like a new Halloween movie to me is like the world stops. It's like, there's a new fucking Halloween movie. Let's watch it. Like I love Halloween so much. So I really love hearing the reaction to it. I mean, I had nothing to do with this movie, but I'm a Halloween fan like everybody. So like, I want to hear what the opinions,
And you said the other night, in case these guys don't actually go back and watch my damn podcast or listen to it, Silent Night, Deadly Night is being written as we speak, right?
Yeah. So I'm producing the remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is a big honor for me. I fought for it and I got it. And we have a writer that's really exciting. I feel is very exciting. And we're working on the story. You got to nail the story. This is why I want to, Halloween Kills is kind of like, to me, competition, not really competition, but like a comp, like how are people reacting to a modern slasher? I mean, we have a new Scream movie, a new Halloween movie. There's Chucky. I know we did last summer. Like it feels like 1996. So like, I'm trying to feel like they're bringing back this era. And so I'm very plugged in, listening to everybody, and I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, and also when you're a producer on a movie, you kind of lose. I hate saying this, but you kind of it's collaborative, right? So now that the writer and then the director and there's another producer and then there's a distributor, and so you have to deal with everybody, and so kind of slips through your hands a little bit. But I'm doing my best to make sure that it's a great slasher film. It's not easy when you have that many voices involved. But I can only imagine what David Gordon Green went through on this. You know, like everybody, like, you know, could you imagine being him and saying like, this is a tall order, you know, like I'm bringing back Halloween, you know, that's got to be a lot of weight on his shoulders. So,
well, and they said that the script for Halloween Ends is now sitting at Carpenter's lap for feedback. And I can't imagine ever having to write about anybody else's baby and then having to send it to him and go, oh my God, what is he going to think? What is he going to think?
You know, I know nothing about Halloween Ends, nothing, zero. I don't talk to anybody, but I just, my last thought here is I really hope they kill Laurie.
Me too.
Not because I don't like Laurie, but I just kind of feel like that's the message of the movie is she's crossed his path. You know, no matter what course of action she takes, she's destined to her fate. And so no matter what she thought about him coming to get her, if she was right or wrong, it's going to happen. You know, and I feel like if she dies, it would make sense thematically. I don't see how she could triumph and have it all make sense. She's got to go down.
Right.
That's my opinion. But I'm not writing it or directing it or producing it. So I'm happy no matter what. I love Halloween. I will watch every movie 100 times.
And we love you. Old friends.
Old friends, yes.
All right.
Well, thanks for meeting everybody. Have a great time, and I will watch the rest of the pod. I will watch this. So, all right, guys.
Be good.
Bye, Anthony.
Bye.
Bye. And that was Anthony. I was glad he was able. Yes, that's our celebrity guest. I was glad he was able to take a little bit of time out of his schedule. As I said before, he is a magician. If you're in LA, please go to the Magic Castle and check him out. He is a wonderful, incredible musician. Well, actually he is, because he does write music too. But he is a wonderful stage magician. He's a Renaissance man, and he's a pretty damn good guy. I'm glad that he came into my life 23 years ago. So, but anyway, back to thoughts. So I think Mike has nailed a bunch of things on the head. One of the things that I truly hated about this movie, and there aren't a lot of things that I hated, but one of the things that I hated about this movie was the acting. I thought a lot of it was not just over the top. I thought the dialogue was clunky. How many times do we have to hear "Evil Dies Tonight"? You know, they all should have just worn T-shirts and, you know, been like,
you know, it's gonna make a great shot game. So I guess it can make a shot game now. So enjoy those first, 40 minutes.
Blackout drunk in 20 minutes.
Exactly. Oh God, just waterfall. Just do it, man.
Idea. That's the idea.
100%. You know, people loved Anthony Michael Hall. Again, this is a character that took me out because I am a coming of age film guy. I love those movies. So he will always be, you know, in the Breakfast Club to me. He will always be a member of that crew. I did not like him. I don't know why we had to have Anthony Michael Hall versus getting Brian Andrews. I do understand that they tried to get, or they talked to Paul Rudd originally. Paul Rudd was doing Ghostbusters, so Paul Rudd said no. And I'm glad that they didn't get Paul Rudd, because again, my man crush, he would have taken me out of the moment there too, because I've seen him in so many other things that I love him in. I don't think Anthony Michael Hall was the right choice. I did love them bringing back characters. And I to speak to Mike's point, I think that they were throwaways because they were throwaways. They were supposed to come, they were supposed to give us that little like, ooh, and then be killed. And most of them were killed. I mean, Marion's kill wasn't really that brutal. She got stabbed in the chest with a knife. You know, but the characters that they did bring back, I think served their purpose. I think they served their purpose quickly. They weren't supposed to be on screen a long time. But again, the acting, that speech by Anthony Michael Hall in the bar, and there's two schools of thought on this. I mean, for Christ's sake, either so he's saying to the people this shit that they lived through it. They know what the history of the town is. And then the other school of thought is, well, there's some people in the audience that might not have done that or known that. Come on, if you live in Haddonfield, you know shit happened back in 1978.
Well, though to be fair, to follow up on your point about this movie wasn't for the old school fans. It's
Sure.
for the new fans. So maybe the thinking is that they actually may not know because you've got new people. And what's interesting is that you've referenced that same kind of continuation of a franchise not being for the old fans, but for the new fans when we've talked about Star Wars. Totally different topic, because Kylo Ren went with crap.
Emo Darth Vader.
Oh my god, yeah, no. But maybe that's why they did that, because there is an expectation.
Sure.
But yet then who is really going, like, horror fans are horror fans, and I feel like horror fans know all the horror movies.
Most of them. Most
I
of them
don't
we do.
think that this movie created new Halloween fans.
Yeah.
There's fair weather fans that went to see it, but I don't think that anybody that saw this movie was like, who's Michael Myers?
Except for everybody in the hospital who's chasing a 4-foot guy. Think, oh, there's Michael Myers.
Right.
Even though they showed the pictures of the two in the news broadcast earlier in the film. Okay.
Yeah.
And you have Laurie Strode saying that's not him.
Well, no,
think
the one guy.
Laurie might know.
The one guy, I either read it or I heard it. They were like, they're chasing David Ogden Stier, or no, not David Ogden Stier's, David Crosby from Crosby, Stills and Nash through the hospital. I was like, yeah, that's kind of what they did. Yeah,
He's
it looks.
going to come back to life in the next one, and he's going to change his name to Oswald Cobblepot, and he's going to become.
There you go. He's Danny DeVito now.
I actually thought that was one of those. That moment actually hit me probably harder. I had the most effect on me when he jumped out of the window, because I was like, oh man, here is this, he was a mental patient. And I don't like when people who are easily victimized become victimized.
Right.
That one I thought was
victims.
pretty awful.
And that scene is a really good example of what I was saying earlier with lingering too much on something, because we didn't need to see his body that long on the ground. I don't care if they showed it, that's fine, but I mean they totally framed that for a while anyway.
Even the chase scene just got too much. And I mean, and I said no politics to the group earlier, but that's kind of what it felt like. I'm not saying that I'm not going either side or anything, but that watching that thing, and maybe it's because I watched the other thing happen on TV, that's all I'm saying, is so I was like,
like Baltimore, can't speak of it.
I was done with it. It was like, okay, 5 minutes, bash the door in, chase the guy out, he jumps off the roof, it's over. There was so much of the middle of that movie that was just too much filler. And I think
and where was Michael?
Right.
So I think I do think Anthony is one. Listen, he's definitely correct in that 2018 was more Laurie Strode's story, and that's probably why I liked it so much, because I thought that was a great story. But when I look back at it, it's like Michael really, like, there was like the firefighter scene, then he killed some other people, and he was absent a little too much in that middle part. It was a very strange, it was a very fragmented movie, because there's the flashback, and then there's we're back at the house that's burning, and then there's just all these things happening, and it didn't seem like there were very smooth transitions just from a movie story perspective.
Right.
I agree.
But I guess maybe it was still just they needed to get it all in,
and I so when Halloween 4 had the angry mob that was drinking too much at the bar that night, which kind of is what these people were doing in the bar that night too, or on this night. There were parts of that I actually think were done better than this angry mob scene. I didn't like the Enos character and whatnot. Some of the kills in the back of the pickup truck were great, but those characters seemed a little bit more in place than some of these people in the mob with Haddonfield seemed like. And I forget whether it was 4 or 5. It's Michael Lives and This Time They're Ready. Was that 5 or was that 4? If anybody remembers, but I think it might have been 5.
Yeah, I think it's 5.
Yeah, and don't even get me started on 5. It says let's put Michael in the Victorian and call it the Myers house. That's shit we notice. Shit we notice. But yeah, I mean, it was the acting was just kind of for me. Again,
No one goes to a horror film though for stellar
but
acting.
I know, but I mean, it goes back to the there's certain things that are so bad that they take you out of movies, and I go back to and I don't mean to be crass here, but it is what it is. I go back to the remake of Friday the 13th and the "Your tits are stupendous" line. That just took me right out of I mean, it was just horrible. I mean, I don't know how someone writes that as a writer. I don't know how someone writes that on a page and is like, oh, well, that's good writing. No, that's horrible writing. I mean, even that character, as douchey as he was, would not have said those words. He wouldn't have said those words. Just wouldn't have happened. But I digress.
Well, Rob, what I'm thinking with the acting, and I think how you were disappointed in that is because even though you didn't like 2018, it had good performances because it had a really good script, regardless of what
2018, yes.
Yeah, and so I think going now into this one, and that's possibly why a lot of fans might be disappointed if you like 2018 and you come into this. This is more of just let's just kill, let's just do that. There's no big story, there's no big movement. Again, I also thought, not to bang the drum too hard on this, but I also thought that everything with Lori and the women's empowerment in that was just tossed away in this one. And she's turned into a crazy lady that he really wasn't after her. She really had no point, and that's something I didn't like about.
Oh, that's interesting.
Retconning that. Yeah, and so it kind of just threw everyone away, and then killing Karen the way they did, which by the way, I don't think she's dead. I don't. I think she got slashed up, and I think she was trained to fall down and act dead. So we'll see what happens. But I just think throwing that away, this is a throwaway movie when everything was built up so well. Again, the director, I was going to say his name, but I might say it wrong, so I won't. But David Gordon Green, right?
Right.
So he's kind of ahead of himself, as you were saying, Rob, earlier with the mob mentality. That was 2 years ago when they made this movie. So that's far before a lot of this stuff. So he just has a weird thumb on things that are going to happen. So I'm kind of scared what he's going to come up with that will come into reality. But anyway, I just think, sorry for my rant there. I just think that the reason why most of us are disappointed in this movie is because the last movie I think was absolutely fantastic, and I think that they drew the characters out. I thought the pacing was great. I was never really confused where we were. It wasn't jumping around like it's been said. So that's just you can't up the bar like that and then just dive so far under it. In my opinion,
my guess is that when the third one comes out, you're going to see how the full story could have been done in 2 movies.
Right.
I think that this really wasn't necessary, but we all love trilogies. We all love, the number 3, and there's money to be made. Right. So I kind of feel like, it's funny, and we've never met, you as an editor, there is not we all know that we are very involved in community theater and theater in general. There isn't a show that I've ever seen that I don't think that there is a scene or 20 minutes that can be cut out of it.
Including my own play.
Sometimes he's in it. That doesn't necessarily add something and might not be that great. And if it's not adding something, then to me, it's just superfluous. And it's just, I don't know if I'm just an impatient person, but.
No, you're absolutely right. And I just think, sorry if I'm cutting you off, I don't mean to. I just think also if we could have just had some arcs in this movie, that would have been fine. If something started in the beginning and had some type of resolution, and my greatest example for that is like Avengers: Infinity War. That's a cliffhanger end that they knew the next one was going to come in to solve the problems of what that movie's caused, but it just didn't cut off. It did have a beginning, middle, and end. That was Thanos's movie, and he won at the end. And if that was the end of the saga, that would still be an ending, not just something that just cuts off and nothing was resolved.
Right.
And there used to be a website. There used to be a website out there called fanedits.org, and it was back in the day when we couldn't we couldn't get certain movies and things like that. And what these people would do was they would take things like trilogies and they would combine them and cut and make their own fan cut of a movie. And they did it with Halloween 1 and 2, and they made Halloween 1 and 2 into a 2-hour and 3-minute movie.
Yeah.
And it took out a whole bunch of bullshit and made everything okay again. And because there are a lot of filler scenes, and I think what you're going to see here, as I agree with Gina, is once we get to Halloween Ends, the end of it, I think we're going to say, okay, about 45 minutes of Halloween Kills could have been taken out, and maybe even a little bit of Halloween Original. So, it's one of those things. Like I do movies with a director, Ryan Calloway. They're B horror movies, independent, and sometimes even he'll say that his stuff is too long. Like I was in a movie of his that I was only in, I think maybe 5 minutes, and the movie was like 2.5 hours long, and I was like, oh my god, I want to see my part. I mean, I love the movie, but I wanted to see my part, and I'm like, oh crap, this isn't until almost the end. But horror movies are quick hit, boom, boom, boom. Makayla and Ashley, I mean, you guys, your film, which has been in film festivals now, congratulations again. You kind of understand that. You go in, you do your thing, you show that creepy effing doll,
Yeah.
and then then you get
So
back
creepy.
out and you're done. So, like, horror to me is like 90 minutes, you're done. I mean, there's even, you could even say 72 minutes and you're finished, you're done, you're out of the thing, and it's done, because it's not supposed to be this long expositional, everything has to be, everything has to have a payoff. And that's a problem in a lot of movies. Like you have to have everything have a payoff, and I don't always think that you have to have that. And that comes from the writing brain. I do like payoffs, but I don't think you have to have everything paid off, because you want people to be interested in something else when you tell more of a story. So that's my take on it. But you brought up a good point, Brett, and I want Makayla and Ashley as my my young female filmmakers that are doing a whole bunch of stuff. You're doing a new project with Lisa, or I can't pronounce her last name. Sorry, Lisa. But you're doing you're doing stuff with her. But I know you have your finger on the pulse of a lot of things going on now. And do you agree that they kind of threw away the sort of the empowered woman storyline of the original Halloween 2018 into this movie? I mean, do you think it was taken away?
I mean, that's a good question. So I'm coming in as not really a Halloween fan. I specifically watched this one so I could come and talk with you guys. I know that he's always existed. I know that he's been there, and I kind of know-ish what's going on. And I guess for this film in general, there's no substance. I was just kind of like, meh. And when it came to strong characters too, like the females or whatever, I was also kind of like, they're there. They're not really doing anything. They're kind of just there to move the pieces along, but they're not really there. They're just like, Ashley might know what I'm trying to talk about. They're kind of just like plot devices. Like, I'm going to stick this character here so I can get from A to B. And I felt like that's kind of what was happening with all of the characters pretty much. I feel like they're just there so Michael can go from A to B to C, and just to move him along the track. And I don't know, I felt like plot wise there was nothing really there. I was just like, this is it, I guess. Like, if they're trying to get new fans, I don't think this was the way to do it, personally, because I just kind of watched it and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm done. Like, there's nothing to connect from the females. There was no strong characters, I would say. Nothing.
Mike had commented, and I think it was on social media, that he felt that everybody was just lined up as dominoes just to fall. And I think that's kind of what you're saying too. Like, there's really nothing. There's nothing to hold, nothing to grab onto. There's no, like, there isn't a story, and everyone who is there is just, their whole purpose is set up there to fall.
And I think something that adds to that whole domino kill thing that I was talking about, and it also goes into the whole trilogy thing, the fact that this movie is literally 4 hours later.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So, I mean, who the hell are you going to build up? Like, you built your characters in the previous movie. Unfortunately, that was 3 years ago. So they're not so invested in those characters anymore because you've waited so long. And it's not that it's not that people can't be invested in Laurie Strode, because people have wanted Laurie for the last 40 years. But the problem is that you didn't do anything with Laurie in this movie. Like Rob even said, it's not until the 20-minute mark where you finally actually see her. And all she does is just overact and yell in the back of a pickup truck.
Right.
So I think that really goes into it, that it's almost like, well, what the hell are we going to do? We're not going to create new characters now. We're going off the same exact night. And they tried to with Tommy, but I don't know. I don't really get invested as Tommy as a character. And then it also goes into like what you were saying, Gina, where maybe this third one's going to show us that this didn't have to be a trilogy. It almost seems like there wasn't enough real movie to make a second movie, but there was too much to just lay over like the opening credits that they wanted to get.
Yeah.
But I feel that this movie could have been consolidated, and Rob had drawn comparison to the Friday remake in 2009. I feel that this movie could be nearly summarized the same way that Michael Bay summarized part 1, 2, 3, and 4 he did all of part 1. My mistake. He did all of part 1 in the opening credits of the remake.
Right.
You could have gotten just newspaper articles and clips of Michael escaping the fire, like, and going home. Literally, that's all the movie is. Right. Oh, Michael's out of the fire. Oh, Michael's home.
Yeah.
Well, literally 2 points of this entire movie. How did he get out, and where's he going?
And the house now has nice, beautiful hunter green walls inside. This is
and so again, with what Mike is saying as well is, where do you go? Okay, well, take what worked in the first movie, or what the first movie was with Trauma. I thought it'd be incredibly interesting if you got Tommy and Lindsay and their version of how that affected them. Not just everyone's pissed, everyone's mad, this will never, evil dies tonight. But if we actually increase the character and why is Tommy like that? Is he a raging alcoholic now? And has he been? And that's how he dealt with it. What about Lindsay? Is she a counselor now? Maybe she went the other direction, and even the nurse she can go into. Did she embrace being a nurse from there on out, or was she out? Or, I'm saying there was a lot of places you could have gone that they should have gone, versus a giant monologue on a stage during a talent show. And when the nurse and the doctor couple are the best people next to Little John and Big John that have any likability in the movie, like, that's your big problem. Because it should have been, if it's not Laurie's movie, and maybe it could be Michael's movie, but again, we kind of lost it now with this one showing that maybe it shouldn't even be his movie. Let it be Tommy and Lindsay's. Let it, work with something and the town, but do it do it to some actual degree with an arc.
And I bought into the characters in Halloween 2018. I genuinely felt for some of them. The little boy being babysat, the little black kid. He stole the movie. I mean, he really did. And they give him like a 13-second clip, and she's like the best babysitter I ever had. What? And that's all you do with him. And probably because he grew up, he probably sprouted like 2.5 feet during the filming time, because he was in that age range. But I bought into the characters in part 1. Even, Laurie's granddaughter, the friend, the goofy, chubby friend that wasn't getting any getting any action, girlfriends, anything like that. I bought into every one of those characters. I hated Cameron. The throwaway character there was Dr. Sartain, and I'm so glad. And I really hope that they don't bring something of that, because this is going to move forward. Halloween Ends is going to move forward 4 years into the future, according to David Gordon Green. We're going to have talks about COVID, which annoys the crap out of me. I don't want COVID in my movies, please.
Okay,
please.
Okay, really quick. So I'm doing, as you know, I'm doing the Shape of Halloween fan film.
Yes, you are.
And ours actually does take place during a pandemic, and that's actually my way in to telling the Michael Myers story.
Okay.
So if you do it right, it can be done. It can be.
There you
really
go. Like,
anyway, I'm just saying.
If you're going to move a movie 4 years ahead, now I start to worry, because originally the idea was to have this all take place in the same night. But obviously, with Halloween Ends, we're probably, or Halloween Kills, we've probably already crossed into November 1st. So it's really not Halloween anymore.
That's
in the
how it ends
generic
at midnight. That's what they're
timeline,
talking about.
right?
It's 12:01.
So
it
I
ends.
kind of get certain things about that, but it was like there was no, and here we go with the payoff thing again, but there was no payoff for the Certain kill. It just all of a sudden that disappears and it doesn't make sense. But he was a character that I bought into. So I had empathy isn't the right word, but I was invested in him, as I was most of the characters in the Halloween 2018 movie. In this movie, I think Makayla said it perfectly. These are throwaways. Mike said it, dominoes. Those are the generic problems. Overall, at the end of the day, it's still a Halloween movie. It still has Michael Myers raging against the machine, kicking ass, taking names, and I love that. I love that it's a Halloween movie. I mean, I stood in line to see Resurrection. I wish I hadn't ever seen Resurrection.
Look at my
But I mean, trick or treat, motherfucker. I mean, Halloween Resurrection, just holy crap, that wasn't found footage, that was shit footage. It wasn't a good movie at all, except for the beginning. I love the beginning. I thought the Laurie Strode death there was phenomenal. I really think that the pacing of that scene, the music, everything in that particular scene was top to bottom one of the best sequences in any Halloween movie ever. But the rest of the movie then just sucked. Like, end the movie there and just be done. It doesn't have to do anything else. I won't go into Halloween 6. That's for me and Mike in another episode. But I buy into so many of these characters, and I didn't feel anything. Even for our old friends that came back for this movie, it was like, oh my God, I do like that Lindsay survived, most likely. And she'll be back. I think I think she's one of those hell hath no fury, like a woman scorned type heroines. I really think that that's the person she's going to be, because I kind of think that that's what she's like in real life. From what I understand, she can be like so we'll see what happens there. But I mean, overall for me it was an 8 out of 10, 7, 8. I've watched some parts again and I've been like, but it's at least a solid 7. It might be a low 8 for me. So
did you want to do ask everyone?
I want Krystina's thoughts on, she's been the silent majority or silent minority.
The silent.
Everybody, it's Krystina.
A silent protector.
Yeah, I mean, see, I even said this. I commented on Mike's post originally. Like, I'm pretty easy to please when it comes to Michael. So when I watched it the first time, I absolutely loved it. I got caught up in it, and I thought the kills were great, and it was Michael's movie. He comes out from behind like the ammo cabinet, and he's ready to go. He's pissed, and nothing is going to stop him from getting home. And I absolutely, and I loved it. I do agree, having watched it 2.5 more times today, that yes, the acting is not great, but I also think that it was hectic and kind of scattered, which to me got me caught up in the movie more, because there's so much chaos going on that night. You don't know what's going on over here. You don't know what's going on over there. So you just have people reacting to what they're hearing, things that are alerts on their phones, things they're hearing on the news, things they're hearing from this person and that person, and everything's just jumping around because that's just how the night is going. And I will say the older couple, I thought the light bulb to the neck was fantastic. I love it. I also agree with you, Rob. I do think he was just trying to find the perfect knife to carry on.
He was trying them out.
But yeah, exactly. But I other than those two parts of it, that scene felt a little out of place to me. Like it did. Like what was the point of him stopping at their house to go?
I think it was
after
a
them?
throwback to the Elrod kill, or actually the Elrods didn't get killed in Halloween 2, but I really
No,
think
he
that
just
they were,
grabs the knife.
yeah, they were the stand-ins for the Elrods, and they finally got killed the way the Elrods probably should have been killed, because Mr.
Probably.
Elrod apparently beat the shit out of his wife, according to the next door neighbor. So,
Well, I also think that it's possible to show, going back to the original Halloween, that anyone will be picked at random, and that the teenagers were just randomized. So that's why, I don't know. He just needed some bandages, okay?
he needed a band-aid, damn it.
Which is fair too. He's just because I mean it's pretty clear from their dialogue. They're right down the street from Laurie Strode's house. So if he's walking away, it's the first place he stops. Oh, gotta wrap up my hand and go about my night.
And I have to say, when that drone like flew through and hit, apparently it hit Michael, like, and then it comes back. And all I kept thinking of was Stu in Scream going, "You
hit me with the phone, dick."
Right, that's what it is.
Fucking hit me with the phone, Dick!
I don't know. I imagine Michael just was back there and it flew into his face and he just swatted it away. That's what I like to think happened back there.
He probably tried to throw it with his hand that only had 3 fingers and it fell off, and then he's like, dang it. And so they grabbed it with the other hand, and that's why he was so mad about it. I don't know.
But yeah, those are all very astute observations, Krystina. Why did you shut up the whole entire podcast?
That's what I do.
You were a casual observer. She was waiting to like shit on all of our opinions, and then she found out that she agreed with a lot of them. So, because I was expecting Mike to come out like raging, like where Anthony would have been like, "I need to cast this son of a bitch in my movie."
Listen, Michael, you missed your chance.
I haven't done the Monday Night Horror podcast yet. We're doing that one tomorrow, and it's going to be Halloween Kills. And oh boy, because we got a lot to unpack, and we do watch throughs on there. So it's every single second of the movie. And oh God.
So it's like Mystery Science Theater 3000 on steroids.
Yes, with massive amounts of swearing, and it's rough. It's rough.
To tell our faithful listeners, I alerted the cult that actually one of the cult asked if there would be cursing, and I said sure, absolutely. It's a horror movie podcast. I mean, people say shit and fucking damn and all that stuff.
Every other word you say is either hell or shit or damn.
Sorry. I guess I just fuck up all the time.
But, there are a lot of people. Some of us are from New Jersey or the tri-state area. And, people curse up here. That's what we do. I mean, it's, fuck is a word that people use all the time. However, Mike came on and he was very, very, I think that's why his screen keeps going blank, because he turns off the mic and he's like, son of a bitch.
He's letting it all out. Just let it all out, Mike.
and I have not ever seen Mike really that angry unless he's play acting killing me or someone else, in the cult or whatever. But but Mike, I loved, you were very important to have here, because I thought that your post summarizing exactly what we talked about tonight, I thought it was very on point. And I remember saying to Gina, I'm like, oh shit, he agrees with you. How the hell am I going to get past this? Like, I can't have that. That just can't happen.
But like I said, and that's why I always let off. Everybody that asks my opinion on this movie, and if you read my review on Facebook, I said it's fun, it's watchable, it's 100% rewatchable. I would turn this movie on again, and I literally have. I think I turned it on Sunday. I was in my garage, and I have a TV in the garage. It's on Peacock. I was like, hey, let me turn that on.
So 5 times.
Yeah,
I watched it 5 times.
I watched it 5 times.
Damn it, you beat me to it. Damn it.
But it is. It's totally watchable. It's just not a Halloween movie, and it is morbidly flawed to me.
Okay.
But like I said, and I summarized my whole review by saying it's not our destination; it's the train ride getting there.
Yeah.
Of course, in any road trip or train or airplane, there's always nice views, but you're not in the car to be in the car. You're in the car to get to Disneyland or Universal Studios or wherever you're driving to.
Right.
So there'll be nice things along the way, but that's not why you're in the car. And that's
true.
it. So there are good things about this movie. There are enjoyable spots about this movie. This movie isn't why we're watching the trilogy. I'd be hard pressed to find anybody after the third one comes out for somebody to say that part 2 is their favorite.
Right. I mean, yeah. And there's, I think in any series of movies, in any trilogy, especially, you could probably go back and say that about certain movies. I love the Scream trilogy, and I'm going to call it the original trilogy. Scream 4 was not a fantastic movie in my opinion.
Go ahead.
What's that?
I said it was better than 2 and 3, but go ahead.
I think 4 was better than 2 and 3.
100%.
Oh, we could debate this.
Oh, better than 3, but not better than 2.
There's a Monday Night Horror podcast on all 4 of the movies. We do complete everything.
So that's the next roundtable.
That will be that will be when the new Scream comes out. That will be a roundtable. I saw the trailer for Scream and I was just like, holy shit, this is it. It got me. I mean, it pulled me right back in. But again, it's the nostalgia aspect of seeing Deputy Dewey and Sydney and what's her name? Gail Weathers.
Gail.
Yeah, it was that nostalgia part. But from what I understand, that they're not really there for a lot. that's all I understand. But yeah, so going back and looking at any of those film series, any of these trilogies, you could do any branching of the Star Wars, beginning, middle, or end trilogies, the trilogies within trilogies. But you can go back and you can probably pull out one movie, at least out of all of them, that did it need to be done? No. Could have been thrown away? Sure.
Not out of 4, 5, and 6, but that's another.
Well, yeah, definitely not out of 4, 5, and 6. But I mean, that's what we grew up on. But yeah, I mean, you could probably do that with so many movies. And again, and I think fanedits.org is still out there in some way, shape, or form. I think everything is like BitTorrent now, but they did a lot of stuff, even with like Lord of the Rings and those trilogies. They pulled stuff out. So I'm waiting to see Clerks 3, and I'm hoping that Clerks 2 is still my favorite Clerks of all time. But it's going to be interesting to see what I would have changed myself or pulled out of something. So I think there's when you have a heavy dose of things like nostalgia and things like that, I think it helps. But yeah, I kind of do agree that there's probably a lot of this movie that after we see Halloween Ends, we're going to go, yeah, we didn't need A, B, C, D, or E. So it's going to be interesting, but we have another year to wait. So we'll see what happens. But Kyle, you have any 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents?
I've got a whole ass dollar if you want it. But to kind of echo what a lot of people are saying, like I agree that this wasn't necessarily the best Halloween sequel or the best Halloween movie. But I mean, it was effective. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it. It was a nice roller coaster. But it was sure as hell an Act 2 ass movie. Like here, we had all our rising action in the first movie. This entire movie is one big action sequence to get us to where we're going to go for the third. And the thing that kind of kept sticking with me through all this is that, like, you look at Michael Myers walking through the fire, that car door kill. Stuff like that, and it kind of started poking at me like, this seems a little familiar. Why does this keep coming back? And it's like, this is reminding me of some real Hong Kong martial arts action films, like that car door kicking through the gun, shooting in the neck. That could come out of Hard Boiled. Walking out of the fire, throw some doves in there. Okay, sure, John Woo would love it. And and I just kind of realized it's not just that. Because I'm going through this and it's like, this seems like they really wanted to make Michael Myers John Wick. Like right down to it. You might have seen me kind of looking off screen here. I did some IMDb digging. Like Aaron Armstrong, the stunt coordinator, was on this. He was also the stunt coordinator on John Wick 3. He was in the other two John Wick movies. Like, you've got a lot of people in here, like putting a lot of action DNA into what was going on. And I think sometimes it worked, but I also think it, like as a lot of people have shown, it really pulled away from what Halloween kind of was, or what made it so interesting that we'd want to give it to other generations, like Gina would say. And it kind of just muddied the waters too much for me to be like, after that first viewing where I absolutely loved it, I was sitting right next to Krystina when it happened. Afterwards it's like, yeah, this is diminishing returns time and time again. And the only other thing I can really, take away from it all is, excuse me, basically, yeah, you know what? No, that's really the main point that I can really bring from it. Like, it just seemed like this movie wanted to make us as thrilled as possible, even to the point where, like, the kills that we're talking about. Like, this is the first time in my 20, 30 years of watching horror films with this crowd in tow, that this is the first time I've wanted to actually look away from the screen because it's too brutal. The light tube kill, watching that guy fall and bounce, that kind of thing. Like, it was definitely one of those movies that wanted to be a little crueler to the audience than other horror movies ought to be. So yeah, I kind of it just kind of pulled me a little too far out of it. But that said, I mean, it was still more enjoyable than some other, entries in the series we won't get into. Monday Night Horror coming soon. But still, it's yeah, I mean, I want to see how they end it, but I will be happy to skip this one the next time it comes up on, on the playlist. So
Wow, another very astute from actually, Kyle is probably the quietest guy in the cult. The quietest guy in our group of friends. He will add something that will make your mind like shake all of a sudden out of nowhere, and you're like, why did you keep quiet about that for so long?
I was just trying to be polite, man. Come on.
like I said to you off camera, before we started, the goatee game is strong with this one. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
When in doubt, trust the beard.
And I can't really say anything about Brett's beard because this is the first time I'm meeting him. So
there you go.
But it's powerful.
So like Brett said, Brett is actually he is a filmmaker himself. He is making I hate when they call them fan films. You're making a film. It doesn't, I mean, you are a fan and you are making a movie. I just hate the connotation of fan film, because
it's to get us safe from legal people coming after us.
Yeah. I don't know. So, well, it's a fan film. So tell us a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah, so the title is The Shape of Halloween. We have the movie take place in its present day, and it's Laurie Strode as if she was 17 now. So it's kind of a retelling of the original film, but done in a modern take and not in a grungy way like Rob Zombie did, although some people like that. But it's definitely a truthful, nice homage to the original. I have it where it's more of a balanced take on Loomis and Laurie. And really the movie is about where do I belong? And that's what it turns out. Loomis has been so just far gone with trying to figure out, Michael's going to break out at some point. He has actually had Michael moved into a prison versus the mental facility because he knew that he would break out one day. So that's kind of our little twist on that as well. And Laurie finds out that, yes, she is Michael Myers' brother or sister, because I like that link. The new ones are fine how they do it, but I like that link. And it really, really pulls the story forward. So when Michael he's released from prison based on true events with the pandemic, they actually were thinning out prison population and letting people out that were considered non-threats or non-violent. And that happened in real life, and 3 inmates did go out in separate states and kill people. So I mean, I was already writing the script at that point, and so that really helped with oh, that sucks and that's real, but hey, that's what's based on. But anyway, so when Michael is released, because again, he only killed his sister, and he's been in prison this entire time, for the most part. And he hasn't even looked at a guard. He hasn't caused any problems. He just sticks to himself. He's looking through a wall, type thing. So we take a lot of the mythos and things of what Loomis said with the original film and really build a new kind of mythology on top of that as well. And just, it's really, really fun. And our kills are really, really fun. I don't linger on them, but it's still gory. But the character development and whatnot is really good in it. And yeah. So
and I love that
working on that. It's going to come next week. Sorry, next year.
Awesome. And I love how that connects, because it really, when you see a movie like this, that you're a huge fan of the property, when you see a movie like this and you're in the thick of writing something yourself, I'm sure it helps you a little bit realizing what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And maybe you have an idea in your head, you see how it plays out on the screen with something else that is similar, and you're like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to take that out. I actually have a script. I'll send it to the cult. I didn't read it on purpose, and then I went to go read along with it when the movie was on, because I wanted to see exactly, how page to screen went. For this particular movie, and it was not completely different. It was different, though. The ending was different. So I think I got like maybe the 3rd revision or the 4th revision. It wasn't the final draft, but there were some things I actually like the ending of this script that I read better. I mean, the movie was set up the same. Dialogue was stronger, though, in the script that I read than it was delivered on screen. So there was slight changes in dialogue, as well as, I can write any word on paper that I want. You as the actor have to say it. And I've been on both ends of that. I've been the actor, and I've been the person that wrote what I'm watching my actor say. Thankfully, I've always, with Gina's help, cast good actors to do
casting is critical.
What I want them to do. And that's right. Casting is critical. One of the people that said Anthony Michael Hall, this was too above his station. And I do feel in some ways that was in fact the case. I think there were some things in that character that were just too much for him. They might've been too much for Brian Andrews. I mean, who knows? Or Paul Rudd. I mean, I don't know unless I saw them doing something. But yeah, so Brett, it's got to be pretty neat to watch this all transform while you're in the middle of doing your own thing. And I'm rooting for you. I've been following your posts, and
well, yeah, and I mean, and we do things. What I found with writing, especially, I mean, these are now with Halloween Kills, whatnot, and even the 2018. This is like very in the future of where I'm at. Because again, we're starting with Lori as a 17-year-old, but it's fun to bring those characters over and the spirit of those characters. Because like Annie and ours is transgender, but she's still Annie. She's still Annie. It's still the same character. You can do it exactly the same way, but it's just a way of kind of just updating and kind of including a lot of people. But yeah, so it's been an interesting thing. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram with Shape of Halloween if you like. There is a promotional trailer, like a promotional like concept trailer we made. I just shot it with my iPhone, but you really get an idea of the feel and what we're going for and the kind of the look. So if you want to check that out, that'd be awesome.
And you come from right now. You come from a background. You were a production assistant on Everwood. That's how kind of how we fell in love.
I did a lot more featured extra work on Everwood, but I was a PA a couple of times. But yeah. And the other thing really quick with this Halloween is you were mentioning where you guys are from. I'm in Utah. So I'm shooting in the same areas and the same streets they shot Halloween 4 and 5. So that's an actual thing for my film. That's gonna be cool.
Now, where are you? You're not in Ogden though, are you?
I am right out of Ogden. So I'm not very far, just right up.
I hate you.
I come from Ogden though. I'm an O-towner. So
are you really?
Oh yeah, I was born and raised in Ogden. Yeah.
So
when is that? You were from Ogden?
No.
Oh.
No, Everwood.
Oh, so you just want to become? Oh yeah, that's how I knew Everwood was there. Yeah.
That's the real Everwood.
Yeah, and actually, a couple blocks away from where we shot Everwood is where the upside down ambulance in the river with Halloween, I think 5. That's where that was shot. Was it
4.
literally like, is that 4? Yeah,
Yeah.
4. So that's literally, both of them were shot here, so I forget which one. But so yeah, but that's literally like a few miles away from where we were with Everwood.
Wow, that actually is awesome. So for those who don't know what Everwood is, Everwood was created by Greg Berlanti, who was he was a writer for Dawson's Creek originally, right?
I don't know about that. Maybe
he might have been.
I mean, it's Kevin. I only think Kevin Williamson when I think of.
Okay, yeah, that's
Dawson's
true.
Creek,
That's fair. But I was a huge Dawson's Creek fan. Shut up, everybody. Go ahead, laugh at me if you want to.
I have so many good stories for you. I have so many good stories for you. Keep going.
But so Everwood was what came on after basically Dawson's Creek was either almost done or done. And I fell in love with Everwood. I fell in love with the story. Right around that time is when all of these other, like, we were in the Dawson's Creek age of horror. We were in the Halloween H2O. We were in the I Know What You Did Last Summer. All the characters could have been Dawson, Pacey, Joey, any of those people. And I always call that the Dawson's Creek era of horror. And so I have an affinity for those things. And Brett was actually, I forget exactly how we came into, it was a post by Tony or something like that. And you had said something, and we got to talking, and then you were like, "Oh yeah," and I worked on Everwood. I was like,
It's just networking, darling. Networking.
That's it.
That's all it is.
That's really. I tell her
I'm
that
just
all the
joking.
time. You find people that you belong to and belong with.
Yeah.
And everybody that you see on this screen has impacted my life in positive ways.
Yeah,
well, maybe not Krystina, but
what's interesting, really quick, and I'll stop rambling, I promise. What's interesting with what you're saying is that I watch Still Screaming, that documentary. I watch that at least once a year. And if you would have told me back in the day when I first discovered and watched it that I would be on a podcast here with Anthony and with all of you guys, like, that's so crazy. And Nate and everybody who's all connected to that, it's crazy just how we're all connected in so much more nowadays.
Back to the Halloween Kills roundtable. Guys, thank you so much. Ashley, you've been very, very, very silent. Ashley
Heather too.
Yeah. And Heather's really never quiet.
I'm suspicious.
Are you suspicious? I've watched the glass go up to her lips at least 50 times. So
you're asking for it.
That's right. I got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about it.
Can we have a Festivus, please?
We have to have the airing of grievances.
I'm ready.
So I don't have too much to say, but what I will say is I was pleasantly surprised that Gina and Mike also were on like the same page. I was like clenching butt cheeks at her review, and when I read it, I was like, "Holy shit!" But like Gina, also like I'm a horror fan, but I don't critique like most of you do. So to me, after watching it 4 times, I'm like,
yeah,
all right. It's not, I'm more of the type where like I'll critique it while I'm watching it, like, oh look, that fucking idiot, she's gonna get killed, right. Like you guys were writing reviews and I'm like, all right, well, it was a Halloween movie. There was nothing to me that was amazing about it. So maybe it is the bump in the road and we'll love the next one, but I don't know. I was like, okay, cool.
Well, I mean, and now that the court case with Victor Miller and Sean Cunningham is over, and Sean Cunningham lost somehow, that's besides the point. But now they think that the wheels will start spinning for the next installment of Friday the 13th, which I don't know how they can do anything else but a reboot, restart, something like that.
That topic is for a whole other podcast. Yeah. But so they each partly won. So Victor Miller won, I believe, the rights to anything incorporated in the first movie. So Friday the 13th, the name Jason, Pamela, Camp Crystal Lake, all of that BS, he won the rights to.
Right.
But the hockey mask and the physicalness of Jason, like him as an actual functioning character and look and everything from 2 up, Cunningham got. So you won't be able to get a Friday the 13th movie with Jason wearing a hockey mask because Victor Miller can't use the hockey mask. But you won't get a Friday the 13th movie with Jason wearing a hockey mask by Cunningham because he doesn't have the rights to Friday the 13th and the name Jason. So you could get something like Lake Killer, Hockey Lake Killer.
Oh my God.
Named Justin.
Call him John.
Like
Like
the-
it originally was supposed to be.
Like the version from Southeast Asia or something.
Right.
Right.
Right. We're gonna have Krayson Borges.
Right.
Our best bet is for Cunningham to just start working with Womp Stomp Films on the Never Hike Alone series.
Yeah, that would actually be good. Never Hike Alone, guys. If you and most people that would listen to this know what Never Hike Alone is. But what was the second one? Never Hike Alone in the Snow.
In the Snow.
So those are great. I guess we could call them fan films.
8 of them too.
What's that?
They're slated to make like 8 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they've got a laundry list.
And that it's going to hurt. There's another Friday the 13th fan film coming out. Here's that fan film word again. It's been all over Facebook. I can't remember the name of it though. Somebody from the Friday the 13th films was involved in it, but apparently now with whatever happens with this, and you know, my only what's that?
Is it Rose Blood? That's the
might-
one that follows. It's a sequel to part 7.
It might be, but there was even another one after that. It was a local filmmaker too. It was a New Jersey guy. But my only skin in the game, really, the only thing I cared about was the Friday the 13th game, which I thought was brilliant. I mean, as horror fans that are also gamers, most of us waited for that Friday the 13th, or waited for a horror game where we could play the killer that was that good. And that game was that good, even with the bugs and the glitches and everything else. It was just that good. So, and unfortunately, it got screwed. Gunmetal, is that the name of the company?
Gun Media.
What's that?
Gun Media.
Gun Media.
Yep.
They got kind of screwed because everything that happened kind of screwed their whole plan up. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But the Twitter feed has kind of died. Servers are crashing. Who knows whatever's going to happen. But at least you can play it single player.
With Gun Media and Ilphonic, the 2 companies that made the Friday the 13th game,
right?
There are huge rumor talks that they are making Leatherface the game.
Ooh.
So if you go to leatherfacethegame.com, it redirects you to gunmedia.com.
Nice.
Yeah, there's been a so
nice. So Ashley, do you have
to finish up there, Rob? I felt that the evil dies tonight and all that corny. I think I even said it multiple times while Mike and I were watching it, like, oh, shut the fuck up, Reddy. I'm sick of hearing it. I don't want to hear it anymore. And the following and killing the guy in the hospital who wasn't Michael. I'm like, ugh. So that's really it for me. Like I didn't have really too much to say about it. It wasn't that great.
Like I was actually sad when the guy jumped off the roof.
I
bought in that he was probably the character that I had the most empathy for because I don't know what he did. Like there was no backstory to him, and I felt like he was just a sad, Crosby, Stills, and Nash looking motherfucker. He was just sad. I felt really, really bad, and he just gets chased and he runs up there and then he's like, okay, well, they broke the window finally, or the door. So now I have to jump off the roof. I mean, it wasn't a great day for escape mental patients, except for
No.
one.
Yeah, except one. Yeah, he made out really well.
He did okay. He did okay, but I agree with Brett going back that that what's her name is not dead. Karen is not dead. No way.
I agree.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and I think there's a Jimmy the ambulance driver, Laurie Strode angle happening with what's his name? Jesus.
Brett.
Thank you. With Hawkins and Laurie. Yeah, so I think that's
I
gonna
think
I
they'll
was
be
waiting
together in the next one.
what's that?
I think they'll be together in the next one.
Yeah, it's the trio now of Lindsay, Hawkins, and Strode. That's the law firm that's going after them. So going after
Just sound like a law firm.
they're gonna go after Michael. But Ashley, say hello at least.
Hello.
There's Ashley.
So I went in with a little bit of a different perspective because I actually haven't seen any of the Halloween movies. I don't know much about them. I know who Michael Myers is. I know that he's from Halloween. That's basically about it. So I basically kind of went in watching just to see how it is just as a movie itself. Didn't feel like there was a whole lot there. The whole thing felt kind of very filler. It feels like it was meant more to be more of the nostalgia factor. Something is like nostalgia or revenge for like Halloween fans. I didn't really feel much connection with most of the characters. I feel like most of the empathy that was put around the characters was with the mental patient you guys were talking about, and how Brett was saying they really held on to the deaths by just keeping the camera on them. So I'm wondering if that was maybe a way that they were trying to create some sort of empathy with the characters, because it just didn't feel like there was much there. I didn't feel like there was much plot other than just like, all right, I'm not waiting for something to happen. I'm just waiting for the next kill to happen. So I guess it wasn't bad. It had some really good shots. It looked really nice. Probably wouldn't suggest it for somebody who's looking to get into the Halloween films. I definitely suggest a different film.
I would be really interested for Ashley and Makayla to go back and watch Halloween 2018 and see what you guys think.
Yeah, I would definitely like to go and watch all of the other ones.
I'd like to see what your response to the original 78 would be.
Yeah.
Which is the in my opinion, the best of all of them that I have seen.
Oh,
And again, it's that restraint, it's that slower pace, it's that like even just like watching some scenes from it last night, I'm just like, that's good stuff. Like that's scary.
Yeah, I gained a new
not bloody or really anything.
I gained kind of a new appreciation just going. I was looking for certain things in Halloween, going back and just scanning through it. I was literally just going through it with my mouse or my remote control mouse on the TV. And it made me appreciate the ending sequence of that movie, the beats of the ending, the last 15 minutes there, and the terror in Laurie when she's in the closet. I was making fun. I was like, well, how did she get that wire hanger like open so quickly? That doesn't happen in real life. You can't do that. But all of that, and then even the ending of Halloween 2, with the hospital chase. Halloween 2, I don't think was a wonderful film, but the ending again, the beats in that final arc, or that final act rather, it worked really, really well. And same with Halloween 1. So it made me go back and appreciate, because I actually, and I said this to Gina, and I'll probably get my Halloween card pulled, I get bored with the original Halloween sometimes. Like I do. I get bored after Michael escapes. I kind of lose it for a little bit, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes, and then I buy back in again. And I don't know why. And I think I've been that way since, I don't know, since maybe high school. So, I mean, right after I saw Halloween 4, which was a completely different movie with the shittiest Michael mask on the planet. But yeah, Halloween, the original, bores me sometimes right in the, I don't know, the end of the first quarter, if you want to say. But there are a couple movies that do that to me overall. The one that doesn't do that, none of the Friday the 13th bore me ever. I don't know why. Ever. They just don't bore me. But yeah, so that's what I think about that. But Ashley and Makayla, I'm going to give you a chance here to tell us what you're working on right now, because you've got some things irons in the fire, so to speak.
Yeah, well, real quick, fun fact is the Mary Alice music at the end, our composer kind of based it off the Halloween music.
Oh,
nice.
Base it off of like 80s kind of slasher horror.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
But right now we're working on a documentary with Lisa Urizondi. Kind of secret what it is about, but if you know her, you can figure it out. And we have a Halloween short coming out soon that we did for fun for somebody else that's going into their thing. It's based off like Psycho, Halloween, the Blair Witch.
There's another one in there, I think.
So that's fun. It has everything you need. Bad acting, 80s looking horror stuff. Wait, not bad acting on Ashley's part, my part. It looks oldish. So that will be fun. See how many references you guys could pick up on that. Little thing in the background. Scream.
Excellent.
If you guys like creepy dolls, please watch Mary Alice.
Yes, please go watch it.
Please. And this is a real doll. And if you need to, go back and watch my second episode of this the Rock and Horror Popcast show, because yeah, and
you can grab her right now. She's a few feet away.
Oh, show her.
Yeah, hold on.
Let us say hello to Mary Alice. What's her name?
Mary Lou.
Mary Lou.
This will be my introduction. This is my introduction to the doll.
I mean, the short is just a smaller part of a bigger part that we want to make.
Okay.
And you will.
Okay.
Hopefully one day.
Oh, Jesus.
She is.
She is.
Ashley even made her a mask for when we went to New Jersey Horror Con.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't know where that is right now, though.
Isn't it just
now, Annabelle is creepy as fuck, okay? That doll is creepy. And I felt bad saying it was creepy once Ashley told me who made it for her. And like, I felt really bad. I was like, oh my God, now I feel like crap. Thank you.
It is creepy.
Is it like a screen printed face, or is it?
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Screen printed face.
It's absolutely wonderful. I love
it. And who made it for you, Ashley?
It was my grandmother. It was a present for me when I was a little child. And it basically sat in my closet for many years because as a child, I knew what to do with it. And then we turned it into a prop.
And now she's pissed. You locked me in the closet, bitch.
Beautiful. I love
Whoa. Yeah. I mean, that doll creeps me out. Even when I made the video for the trailer, or did I?
Yeah.
I forget exactly what I did. I was freaking out when
it was like an issue. It was an issue.
Like I'm doing this slow-mo thing, and I was like, oh my God, yeah.
Hey,
and you guys liked it, so that was all that mattered. But
she used to be on our stairs in our dorm room. We had like a loft. She used to just sit right in between, and we'd just leave her there, and she was always out.
That's a good way to keep the boys out of the dorm room. Put a creepy fucking doll up there.
Not too bad. I mean, she is toddler size though.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, but
sorry, toddler size just sounds so creepy to me. Talking about dolls.
But yet, Chucky doesn't freak anybody out.
Oh.
That's what I tried to explain that to Gina the other night. I was like, Chucky, Child's Play never scared me. The first two were suspenseful. Even the third one was kind of, it had a suspense to it, but then it became comedy horror. And now here we are, all the way up, Bride of Chucky, Cult of Chucky, all that stuff. But yeah, that doesn't creep me out. That doll creeps me out. That doll. Stop it.
I love
Peekaboo.
it. I love it.
But I could see, I mean, that's marketable. Like you could make small, little, tiny Mary Lou's and oof. But anywho, so guys, thank you so much. I think we touched on everybody. I think we've exhausted the hell out of loving and hating Halloween Kills. So thank you everybody for coming here and talking about stuff.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yes, Rob, thanks for having us. Hey, so you like fan films, you said, right?
Yes.
So, so Braden Timmons has made a sequel to H2O that's premiering this Friday on YouTube, and it's called The Haddonfield Nightmare. I don't know him personally. I know him through like Facebook and whatnot, but
Okay.
It looks amazing. So Haddonfield Nightmare. Let me plug it for him, and I'm gonna text him and say, or message him and say, hey, dude, you owe me a quarter. But yeah, I hear it's supposed to be really good though, so I'm super excited for it. I backed it on Indiegogo, so I think
nice. Well, this is my plug, and being with all of this stuff and how I've hated stories through the years. I mean, this is my plug for this. This is what I wrote for Tony and the Myers Museum back in the day, and it's actually, I mean, it's like a real damn novel. And I got so sick and tired of the way the franchise was going after this Curse of Thorn thing that I just wanted to do something myself. So I started releasing it in chapters every month. And then finally I was just like, I'm just finishing this whole damn thing and releasing it out to the world. And then I published it on, I don't know, something, Lulu or something like that.com. And it got taken off the site in like 2 days because of copyright infringement. So yeah, that didn't work out well, but I'm going to go back and actually look at it and see what I can do. Cause I do love what I did with those characters. I mean, I even made John and Jamie end up being related. And
wow,
I brought them together, and that was a tough, I sat there and I storyboarded and I was writing timelines, and I'm like, how do I make this equal this? And it ended up perfect. And
that's
why
awesome.
she would keep John, but get rid of Jamie. And it all ended up being very good.
Yeah,
But,
his follows John too, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, but again, thank you all. Thank you, Gina, for judging along with fucking Mike.
It was nice to have people along for the judging ride.
That's right. So like I said, every so often look for Judging with Gina at the end of every podcast, so I can say this movie is great, and she could go, this is why it's not great, and these are the reasons why.
And here are 20 minutes we can cut out of it.
Right. Yes. So this movie could be 7 minutes. But so again, thank you all. My cat is meowing upstairs, so that means it's time for us to go and watch Criminal Minds, which is the only thing we have watched since July. We've not watched any other thing on TV except for Halloween Kills and Criminal Minds.
And come from away.
Yes, and Come From Away. So we'll be doing a Criminal Minds episode. Brett will be back with us because we have a lot to talk about. Everwood wise and Dawson's Creek. So pay attention for Brett because he'll be back, and then we'll also have him on to talk about his movie. So that should be exciting. So yeah, there's so much going on. Thank you all for listening and tuning in. Have a wonderful evening. Watch Halloween Kills. 8 out of 10 from this guy, but mixed reviews from everybody else. 7, whatever. Love you guys. Talk to y'all soon. This is Rob, and I am out. Good night, everybody. The Rock and Horror Popcast Show is brought to you by Dockside Productions, recorded in Studio 217 in Opatcong, New Jersey, and mixed through the magic of Audacity. Our theme song is The Flood from the album Brightside by Mike Hers and can be found on Apple Music and Spotify. Please check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Like, follow, and subscribe to be kept up to date on everything new.